My opinion 2 weeks ago was 99.9% that they would take Kyler Murray, and I'm going to stand by my opinion because that's what I feel, that Kyler Murray will be the number one pick. They're doing what they're doing because they need to. They need to make it look like, hey, it's a tough call. Josh Rosen's a great quarterback. This is not a slam dunk because they're going to try to trade Josh Rosen. They get a first-round pick for him. So I always thought that was smart to do it that way. You see the Pelicans doing it with Anthony Davis, or trying to. I think when you look at Kyler Murray, it's everything they want, box office, ability to be great, as opposed to, I think, Josh Rosen to be Andy Dalton or Alex Smith. So, yes, in my opinion, 99.999% Kyler Murray's the number one pick.
Is he worthy of it?
For them, he is. If Cliff Kingsbury's not the head coach, he's not the number one pick. If they brought a traditional coach in, old school, there's no way. Steve Kiner traded up for him last year for Josh Rosen. Is going to go away from that and not draft Quinnen Williams or Nick Bosa. That would have been the pick. Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, had Murray. Number one, not been in this draft. Remember, we didn't think he'd even be in this draft back a few months ago.
Mel Kiper Jr. right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. One of the concerns that I think, Mel, nobody has really mentioned enough, as far as I'm concerned, is that you got a rookie coming in Kyler Murray. He's the Heisman Trophy winner. He was absolutely spectacular. We know what he brings to the table, okay? But the questions about his size, his height, et cetera, that would be one of the reasons why he wouldn't be the conventional number one pick if it were anybody but Kingsbury that would coach it. But with Kingsbury, you are talking about a rookie coach. You are talking about a rookie coach in Arizona. This is his first year. How big of a chance is this, considering this is the same Arizona Cardinals franchise that just drafted Josh Rosen last year?
Well, I think it's Kingsbury. If you're going to hire Cliff Kingsbury, Stephen A., you're going to give him the right and the call in this quarterback situation. And that's where it's a perfect storm. It's Kingsbury and Kyler Murray together. And that's what makes him the number one pick. Like I said, if he's when Kyler Murray, a couple months, it's been months ago when we knew he'd be in the draft back in August, even into October, we didn't know. We thought he'd be in Oakland A. So once Kingsbury becomes the coach and Kyler Murray's part of this draft process, it was a perfect situation for them.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
Fast hour number one, back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We'll get back to your calls in just a minute. The NBA playoffs are on ESPN Radio. Tune in tonight as Kyrie Irving and the Celtics visit the Indiana Pacers. Presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Always my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line. My buddy does a great job covering the NBA for us. I want to know where you're at now, and I want to talk about your new book that's out. I'm talking to the great Brian Windhorst, my colleague here at ESPN covering the NBA. He's live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Good. I was in L.A. all week, but I didn't go to the game last night. I came home, and we'll see where I go next.
All right. Well, we know that. We will see when it comes to you. No question about that. Talk to me real quick before I get into some of this NBA playoff action. You've got a new book out. I think it's been out for a few weeks now. Talk to us about it, the title, and tell us about it a little bit. LeBron, the making of a billion-dollar athlete. LeBron Inc. by yours truly, Brian Windhorst. Talk to me.
You know this story, Stephen A. When LeBron was early in his career, he realized he was getting a raw deal. He was making, good money, but he was looking at what the teams were making. He was looking at what the league was making, billions of dollars on their TV deals that he was driving. The brands that he was doing business with, he was looking at their stock price and saw what they were making, and he decided, I'm not going to be a contractor my whole life. I'm going to be an owner, and owner of, restaurants, owner of various, brands, and someday maybe an owner of sports teams, maybe in the NBA. And at the end of the day, that's what this is about. LeBron's desire to take ownership of his business career, which has headed him on the path towards being a billionaire.
Brian Windhorst, I remember, and I'm sure you saw his episode of The Shop. several of those episodes, doing a great job with him and Maverick Carter and those boys on HBO and what have you. And on a few occasions, he's alluded to wanting to be an owner. He's mentioned that. But you've seen some of his positions. You see how outspoken he has come, more so now than before. You've been covering him since he was in junior high school, for crying out loud. When you see those kind of things, do you think he thinks about, or anyone has told him, that speaking out and being so forward and being so transparent with his feelings of disgust sometimes by what he sees from NFL owners, et cetera, that he's made the path easier for himself to ultimately become an NBA owner like he's proclaimed he wants to do?
Probably not, although the NBA is so indebted to him, just like they were indebted to Michael Jordan. I think if he could get the money together, the NBA would love to have him. I can't remember the exact verbiage he used in that tweet. He compared, I believe, NFL owners to plantation owners, something along those lines.
Yeah.
That obviously was not going to help his cause in that regard. But remember, when Michael Jordan bought the Bobcats, he got them in a deal. It's one of the greatest deals in NBA history.
Ever, one of the greatest. Please give the details about this. I can't believe it's one of the greatest deals I've ever seen, but go ahead. I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, I mean, first off, if you or me were going to try to buy an NBA team, the level of cash we'd have to bring up front would have to satisfy those bankers and everybody. The level that Michael Jordan was willing to bring to buy the Bobcats, they, with all due respect, they kicked the ball to the fairway for him. Mm-hmm. If Michael Jordan's name wasn't on the bid, they wouldn't have approved it. Secondly, he bought at the right time, Stephen A. He actually bought the Bobcats for less money than Bob Johnson paid the league for when it was expansion.
Well, remember, Bob Johnson paid about $300 million. Michael Jordan, right. I think Michael Jordan paid, about $30 million of his own cash, something like that, if I remember correctly.
That's right. Not only did he get it below market value, for a lower price, which go in the history of professional sports, find me a team that sold for less than it was bought for. Mm-hmm. But he also was able to finance it in a way like, again, if you and I are coming to buy a team, we're not getting a team for $30 million. We're going to need $400 or $500 million cash to bring down. And so he not only did the league sort of help him out, but he bought at the right time. And now that team is worth $1 billion, and he's a billionaire. And so ultimately, I think the league would really want to have LeBron as an owner. By the time LeBron's ready to buy a team, the teams might all be 1.5, 1.8 billion. But he has money and he has access to people with money. And I think if he wants to get it done, he'll get it done. But Stephen A., make no mistake, LeBron doesn't just want to own an NBA team. He may want to own an MLS team. He may want to own a lacrosse team. He may want to own an esports team. He wants to have an empire. And, one of the things that he said to me when I started this process was, why are you writing this book now? Why don't you write it in 15 or 20 years? This is just the beginning. And I said, I'll write another one in 15 or 20 years. But they really believe that when his basketball career is over, that his career and his influence on professional sports and the American sports landscape is only beginning.
Well, before I move on from this subject, Brian Windhorst, how cooperative was LeBron James in all of this? It seems like he was.
Not very.
Okay.
And there's a good reason why. LeBron is an owner now, and one of the things he's an owner of is a media company. They own Spring Hill Productions. They own Uninterrupted. He produces his own documentaries about his life. You may recall More Than an Athlete that was on our channel, ESPN Plus, that came out last fall. When I was doing this book, they were putting that together, and they're like, hey, listen, with all due respect, we own our stories. We're not giving them to you. And that is part of the story that is in this book.
Brian Windhorst right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Let's get to these playoffs. You know who he is. Kevin Durant, y'all know who he is. That's what he said. And then he went out and played his butt off last night and just performed like the surreal superstar that he is. Talk to us from your perspective, what you saw last night, not just from Kevin Durant, the basketball player, but Kevin Durant, the man, in terms of how he was absorbing all the heat he was taking about being guarded by Patrick Beverley.
Stephen A., I feel like the Warriors should take that clip of him saying, I'm Kevin Durant. They should load it on an iPad and attach it to the back of his locker and run it on a loop. The only thing that can stop Kevin Durant from dominating almost every game in the NBA is himself. He gets inside his own head. He gets distracted by the referees. He gets a little bit moody. He takes himself out of it. This is the epitome of a scoring machine in the history of the NBA. James Harden is an unbelievable scorer, but he has made himself that way by figuring out the rules and developing these step backs and these techniques. Durant was born to score. And there's one thing you can't do is stop Kevin Durant from scoring. So while I respect Patrick Beverley and I respect Tony Allen, a man who I watched in a playoff series do almost the exact same thing to Durant years ago, get in his head.
When he was in Memphis.
That's right.
Go ahead.
When he was in Memphis and Durant was in Oklahoma City. They ran a headline in the Oklahoman, Mr. Unreliable, because Tony Allen got so far in Durant's head. But it was just Durant's head. Patrick Beverley can't guard him. Tony Allen couldn't guard him. Maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo, heads up, could maybe slow him down a little bit. I just don't think anybody can stop this man except for himself. And when he wants it to happen, it's going to happen, which is why he's won the last title. He's probably going to win the title this year. And wherever he is at next year is going to have a great chance to win a title. He just has to be remembered. He just has to remember that, Stephen A. His weakness is when he doubts himself. We just saw it happen this week.
When you see him play like that, isn't that a reminder that Golden State can do what they want to do when they can do it? Or do you see a real bona fide formidable threat, the likes of the Houston Rockets, for example, on an outside shot by the Portland Trailblazers, if you're listening to Charles Barkley or anything like that? Isn't it just a reminder that the Golden State Warriors are on an island by themselves?
That's what I feel. And, you know basketball as well as anybody in the business. And I work with all these folks at ESPN who I really respect, who don't think that the Warriors are going to win this year. Charles Barkley says that. Stan Van Gundy says that. Tracy McGrady was telling me the other day he thinks Houston's got a real shot. I respect all of them. I don't think anybody's beating these dudes 4 out of 7. Oh, they might get them 1 or 2 out of 7 if they shoot themselves in the foot, or Steph Curry sprains his ankle, or Durant gets thrown out of a game, or Draymond gets suspended. They might get him 3 out of 7. If they're right in the head and right in the body, you're not beating them 4 out of 7. That's just my belief. And I hear everybody state their case, and I get it. And I hear Houston fans saying, well, last year, if A and B, we could have done it. They didn't do it. They didn't beat them 4 out of 7. So it's the same thing. Clippers had a glorious night, one glorious half. That was a half. They going to do it 3 more times? No way.
Do you think Houston's better than they were last year, Brian Windhorst?
Great question. I'd like to hear your opinion on that. I think they might be because Harden is better, but I don't know if they have it. And the one thing I'll say about this, they're not afraid of Golden State, and they've won there, and they have the institutional knowledge. They may actually be better prepared mentally to do it. I still don't think they're doing it 4 out of 7.
I think Harden's a little bit better than he was last year, but I don't think collectively they are better. Because I love Kenneth Faried. I love the acquisition of him, but I still think with Trevor Ariza and PJ Tucker there with Clint Capella last year, they're more of the same version of what they were last year. Whereas I look at James Harden, and even though I think that he's better, what I think makes them worse is that last year, as great as he was, I thought they depended more on each other as opposed to depending just on James Harden. I think they're depending on him more now, and I think that's to their detriment.
There is a school of thought out there that says getting Golden State in the second round may actually benefit them because Harden will be less worn down, less opportunity for Chris Paul to get banged up. That's what everybody tries to do in the postseason. I mean, I can't rule that out. I guess in theory that's correct. That this bad draw may actually benefit them because they're going to have to beat them at some point if they want to get there. I guess that could be true, and I guess we'll see it play out. But, again, if Durant stays in the game, and by the way, I want to point out 3 technicals now, 3 games, 3 technicals,
no question.
7 get you suspended.
Yeah, that was a bogus technical last night, though. That should be rescinded. They said that they did rescind it. They did rescind it. They just rescinded it, Brian. They rescinded the technical last night.
You broke news to me. Okay, good. You broke news to me.
All right, before I let you go, 2 rapid fire questions. Real quick answers to this. Kevin Durant staying in Golden State or he's leaving?
Everybody I talk to who knows him says he's leaving. I say his mood changes every day, so we're all just guessing.
I agree with you there. Last but not least, what the hell's going to happen with the Lakers in terms of management in that office or the head coaching position? They're going to talk to Monty Williams again. They talk to Tyler Lue. What do you think's going to happen?
This is the inverse. They got to sell themselves to those coaches. The coaches don't sell themselves to the Lakers. That's where they are. They got to actually sell themselves. Do you believe that Rob Pelinka is running the show? Is that, I mean, like, to me, what's their plan?
I believe right now he is. I don't believe they could continue. I'm not advocating that Rob Pelinka be gone, but he does not need to be the one making basketball decisions because I don't think he could cultivate the relationships necessary in order to do what needs to be done for the Lakers franchise. I think that would be a mistake.
Is that the first question you're asking, Ty Lue? You're sitting down today? Are you going to be my boss, Rob?
Yeah.
Like, that's a really important question.
That's true.
And I don't know if it's the answer yet.
Brian Windhorst, keep doing a great job, buddy. I'll see you down the road.
Have a great weekend.
We'll catch up on the games. Take it easy, buddy. Thank you so much. 888-SAY-ESPN. That is the number to call into the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. My buddy, Brian Windhorst, was just here on the line with us. If you missed my opening segment, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith Podcast. Brought to you by the Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, 2% in grocery stores, and 1% on all other purchases. Hey! What's in your wallet?